Okay, I've been getting a lot of requests to show you how I actually modified this. So I'm going to take it apart, show you how to take it apart and what I changed on the inside. I'll edit together this video. I don't do a lot of videoing, so it'll all be handheld. First, take that off and make sure you unplugged. All right. First thing we're going to do is take the basket out. You're going to have 5 screws, 3 in the front, here, here, and here. And then you'll also have 2 in the back corners. Now after you remove the 5 screws, you can lift the lid off. Be careful, there's wires going up to a board in here. So don't just yank it off. Once you have access to this, in the lid here, this is the board you're going to need to deal with. This has already been cut out, but there's normally a place here where your sheets come in and a sensor for the auto on off. It plugs into this board. You'll probably have to remove this board because the connections are hot glued in. You have 5 screws here, 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 and here. You'll remove those and the board will be loose. Okay, we've removed the screws. This is what you're going to be looking for to remove. It will be the sensor that goes on the paper part of the shredder. Notice there's also a set of sensors for the CD part. You need to leave those in place. After you remove the screws, just lift the board up, and you can see right here is where that sensor was plugged in. The reason you have to kind of move the board is, if you can see on this one, they hot glued these in. So I had to remove the board and peel the hot glue off to get the sensor unplugged. Once that is unplugged, you can just put this back the way it was and screw it in. Now we've screwed that back in, we've removed the sensor from here. You're all done with this. As you can see, this is what's called, what I called in my prints, the bottom funnel. And I made it in 2 pieces so I could remove this whenever I needed to. And this will not be on your machine when you get it new. But so I'm gonna go ahead and remove that real quick. To put it on here, I just used some probably 3/4 inch self drilling screws, and we're just going to remove those. If you're not real used to using electrical tools, this may not be a good idea to do what I'm doing, but I use these all the time. It's real easy to over torque a screw or break one off using these little impacts, but it saves me a lot of time. Okay, this is basically what yours will look like, but it will have a plastic piece here, and only about this wide, just wide enough for your paper to go through. We're going to have to cut that off so that we open up the mouth of this. We're going to do that by removing these screws here, and that will you really just have to remove the top ones, I believe. Trying to remember here. Remove these screws first, right here. That's going to release this whole unit and allow you to move it around a little bit. This one's kind of a pain to get to, but it's not too bad. And mine had a bunch of grease around it. Don't know why. I guess it just from when they grease this. Okay, we've removed those 4 screws, and that kind of makes this whole piece with the motor where you can kind of move it around. You'll need to do that. First thing you're going to do is remove these 4 screws here. Okay, now that you've removed those 4 screws, you can kind of slide this plate back, and we're going to take these 2 metal pieces right here out. You're going to also be doing something similar on this side. You're going to have to take this plate loose with 3 screws, take 2 out of here, and then I'll show you the rest. After you remove those 4 screws, you're able to pull these 2 metal plates off, and that exposes this whole plastic piece that we're going to have to deal with. Another thing, when you pull this plate loose, the CD shredder here gets loose, but you can just make sure you have it back in place when you start putting it back together. Okay, there's a screw right here into the plastic you're going to want to remove. And there's another one on the other side over there. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it screws into the plastic. It's kind of tough to get to, and I really didn't need to remove it on mine. I'll show you how I dealt with it. By the way, you don't have to remove these 3 screws. You do have to remove this one. And if you'll notice, the plastic comes through the metal slightly. So to get this piece off, you're going to have to pull it away from that metal just a little bit, but you still got a screw over here. And what I was able to do was pull it loose and then kind of move it up and out. I'm not sure I can show that on video because I don't have a stand for this. Oh yeah, 4 more screws here. Here, 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 and here. Those hold these 2 plastic pieces together. Okay, I've removed these 4 screws. Once you do that, you can kind of separate them a little bit, but we're still going to have to deal with where the plastic goes through the metal right here. Don't know if I can. And also, the little pieces here are going to be in between your metal. So you kind of have to deal with that. But if we can I'm going to try to get this corner loose, which I basically just pull on the plastic and push against the metal a little bit and pop it loose. I leave this other screw over here in. This may help some of y'all out. It's kind of hard to pull that apart, but what you can do is get your screwdriver and put through here and kind of push back. And if you'll saw, you could kind of see it bumped out, and the little plastic piece is now outside the metal, and we should be able to tilt it this way. We've tilted it, and so you can kind of move that, and you tilt it far enough, you'll clear all these pieces off of that metal. Remember, there's still a screw right in here. I did not remove it because that would involve taking all these gears out, and I really didn't want to go that. So what you're going to do is, once you get to here, you're going to just kind of pry that screw out, similar to how you did the other one. But you can kind of see that screw in there moving right here. It's kind of in a slot, and if you can get it out of that slot, the whole plastic piece will come out. Again, I apologize for the fact that I don't have a way to mount this camera, but I pulled it towards me and see how it's loose now, and you can just kind of work it out. Now you've got this whole plastic piece out, and keep in mind that the only opening is going to be about that width. And there's actually pieces that stick up here. You're going to cut those 2 pieces off. And then I used an oscillating tool and just cut this slightly bigger than the opening between the two metal pieces that have to go on here. And also, like I said, I left that screw in place and kind of cheated. I took about a half turn out, so it'd be a little bit easier to get back in. So that's how you take it all apart. That's what you got to cut. And now it's just a matter of getting it all back together. This is probably the hardest part, is getting this screw back in there. I still think it's easier than taking all the gears off. But you see how this area here is square, but there's a notch right here. That's where that screw goes. So you're going to have to work this thing back in there and get that screw back in. Then it's, since you've taken it apart, it'll be a whole lot easier to put it back together. Okay, I've set it back in there, but the screw's not in the right place, so I just kind of tapped it in, and you see how it went back into place, and all this lines back up. Then we just got to kind of work it in there, and now it's basically back together. See, and remember, we got to get this little plastic piece back in that hole. So there we'll use our little screwdriver again and kind of pry it down, and it pops in. Now you've gone through the worst of it. The rest is just putting it back together. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put these 4 screws back in. Actually 3, because I think I broke one of them, but I'm not going to worry about it. I may look for another. Okay, I've got these screws back in, except that one is broken, so I'm not going to worry with it. There. And I put these 3 screws back. You didn't have to take those out. I couldn't remember if I did or not. I think I originally took them out because I figured I'd have to take this gear pack apart, but I ended up coming up with a way not to do it. Next, we're going to put our screw back in here. It was right here. Okay, we've got that screw in. We've got these. Everything's back to level. Before we put this back plate on, remember you got to put these 2 metal plates back in. If you'll notice, there's a wide side and a short side. The wide side is the top, and they're going to slide in and lock into these pieces. Okay, you got that one in. Wanted to show you right here, it's going to slide in a slot here and here. And so once you get it there, you can just kind of tap it on in and make sure it's pretty well in there, and you've got that part done. So next, we got to put this back on. We have to remember that the CD shredder kind of came loose. I started to completely remove it, but I just didn't see a reason to. When you're looking at this, you'll see that it only has like 4 or 5 slot blades, so it wouldn't be good for anything as far as what we're trying to shred. Also, as you're putting this on, notice there's a spring here, one there, and one there. Also, one goes right under here, and that's where those 4 screws go. It kind of gives a little shock cushion to this thing. Okay, once you have this plate back in place, you're going to put the 4 screws back in. There, 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 and there. And just take your time. Takes a little bit of finesse to get this plate and all these plates lined up and that piece there. But it will go back together. Okay, we got this screwed back on, all 4 screws. We made sure that this was in the right place so that it lines up and fits inside there. Now we've got to put the 4 screws back in that mount it all down. You want to just look and make sure you kind of lined up before you get started. There's some rubber grommets in there. They're kind of junk, and some springs underneath that kind of buffer it. So we're going to do that next. Okay, we've got our 4 screws in. Everything's mounted back down. We're pretty much done in here, except now you'll add your funnel kit. What I would recommend at this point, if you don't want to have to take this whole thing back apart, go ahead and plug it in, turn the switch on. Now, they've got a switch in here to make sure you have your bucket in. You can just take something and click it, And let's see, and it turns, and there's not a bunch of crunching noises, so I think we'll get okay. We're going to mount our funnel back in place, and then we'll put our lid on. To mount this, I just used some probably 3/4 inch self-drilling screws. Did the hole in the model, so once you put it inside that hole, kind of hold it in place and let it drill and tap those 2 metal pieces you took off earlier. Now we've got our bottom funnel mounted. We're just going to put our lid back in place. Kind of watch these wires right here. Make sure you don't catch them in anything. And I used the bottom funnel flipped upside down up here and marked this out to cut. And that way I got a pretty decent, fairly smooth cut. You know, not too much. I also used an oscillating tool to cut that off. Anyway, got the whole thing on. So putting the screws back in, I found it's a whole lot easier just to flip this whole thing upside down than put all 5 screws back in. Trying to put them in going up like this, you're going to have a hard time getting everything lined up. But if you flip it upside down, you can drop all 5 screws in place and then get your Phillips head and screw them back in. Flipped it upside down. We're going to put the screws in, one here, here, and here in the front. And then you can kind of feel a little curved part here, and over here. That's where your screws are going to go. You can literally just take them and drop them in. And they'll kind of find their home when you start screwing them in. Okay, we got it flipped. All 5 of the screws are in. We got flipped back over. Everything looks good. We're going to slide our bin back in place. And we'll plug it in and just make sure it spins. Okay, got it plugged in, and it's ready to chew some of your bad prints. Also, that little mod we did when we pulled the sensor out will make it to where the auto just becomes an on-off switch. And if you need to, you can still use the reverse switch if you get something hung up in there. Just press it and hold it for a minute and it'll start spinning back. Kind of want to apologize a little bit. I guess this maybe is a little bit more difficult than I made it sound. But if you take your time, it's really not that hard. And as long as you don't go yanking on wires, it's a pretty tough little machine. So you're probably not going to break anything. Just be real careful with the electronics boards and the wiring. Things are a little bit easier for me because I'm used to doing stuff like this. Big LSU fan, M1 Garand fan. If you're into any of those, message me. I'm also Mike's Military Rifle Stain. And hope this works for everybody. Feel free to message me if you run into a problem, and I'll see what I can do to help you make it through it.